The sun didn't even get a chance to stretch across the skyline before my life unraveled in silence. I wasn't expecting betrayal at 6:47 a.m. on a Thursday. I was pouring almond milk into my coffee mug when the words fell from her lips. Casual and rehearsed, like she practiced them in front of the mirror between mascara strokes. "I think I want to explore new possibilities," she said. No good morning. No, how did you sleep? Not even a hint of hesitation in her voice. Just those 7 syllables crashing through our kitchen like a wrecking ball through glass. I didn't answer at first. My name is Miles. I'm 47. I've worked in real estate for over 2 decades. Built a small empire from scratch. I coach high school basketball on weekends and know how to grill a ribeye so tender it falls apart with a fork. I believed in family, in commitment, in effort. And I believed with every damn part of me in her. Her name is Karen. We've been married for 24 years, 2 kids, a mortgage paid off, 2 German shepherds, and a house with hydrangeas that bloomed in the spring just like she loved. So when she said it, when she leaned on the island, tucking her freshly curled hair behind one ear like she was giving a quarterly report, my mind reeled. Not just from the shock, but from the detail. She wasn't testing the waters. She had already jumped in. "You want to explore?" I repeated. Not because I didn't understand, but because part of me needed to hear it out loud again. "Yes," she said, sipping her coffee like it didn't taste like gasoline. "I want to feel alive. I need to know what else is out there, Miles, before it's too late." Before it's too late, like I was some ticking time bomb she had to escape before the final beep. I studied her. Same icy blue eyes, same careful red lips, but something was missing. Or maybe something had been added. A flicker, a shift, like someone had moved in behind her eyes, pushed the woman I loved aside, and taken her place. "Is this about someone?" I asked. There was a pause, too long for comfort. "No," she said, but her eyes darted. Left, then right, like guilt searching for a corner to hide in. "Karen," I said slowly, voice steady as concrete. "Don't lie to me." She set the mug down. Her hands were too still. "There's someone I met," she admitted, "at the gym. Nothing serious yet. His name's Austin." Of course his name was Austin. Probably had biceps named after Norse gods and a gym bag full of protein powder and red flags. I didn't explode. I didn't even raise my voice. That came later. That would come with precision, like a scalpel, not a hammer. I only nodded. "And what are you expecting here?" I asked. "A hall pass? A trial run? Do you want me to wait like a backup dancer while you figure out if you're still desirable to someone who doesn't know your soul?" She flinched at that. "Good. I'm asking," she said carefully, "if we can consider an open arrangement. Just to see." I let out a breath, a long, slow exhale of everything I'd built, everything I believed, and everything I thought I knew about her. "No," I said. "We can't. Miles, you want to check her in," I cut in, voice low but hard. "But you want to rebrand it with dignity. That's not how this works." "I haven't cheated," she snapped. "Don't twist it." "No. Meeting behind my back? Planning possibilities? That's betrayal with a pretty bow. You just haven't ripped the paper off yet." She didn't argue, which told me more than words ever could. And in that moment, I knew something vital. This wasn't a midlife crisis. It wasn't a cry for help or an emotional spiral. Karen had already gone. She had decided long before that morning that the version of me in her life was no longer enough. But what she didn't know is that when I'm not enough, I become more, not for her, never again for her, but for the part of me she forgot existed. The one that remembers how to rebuild from fire. I didn't chase her when she packed her gym bag with the same hand she used to cradle our children. I didn't call her when she didn't come home that night. I didn't text when her toothbrush disappeared from the holder, or when I found a receipt for a hotel folded between old tax forms, because I was busy. Not with women, not with rage, but with the one thing men like me are dangerous with when wronged. Clarity. While Karen tasted freedom for the first time in a Marriott suite with cheap Chardonnay on a nightstand, and Austin's cologne clinging to her skin like smoke, I was at home cleaning. Not the floors, not the windows. I cleaned the house of her. Every photo, every trinket, every drawer that smelled like her lavender lotion. I boxed it all with the precision of a man not in mourning, but in transition. I didn't cry. I didn't burn anything. I didn't punch walls or scream into pillows. That would have given her too much power. Instead, I rewired the house. Literally. I reinstalled locks, changed passcodes, installed security cameras at every angle. Not because I feared her, but because I knew the day would come when she'd forget where she belonged, and I wanted to remember. But I wasn't just rebuilding walls. I was watching. Karen, meanwhile, was beginning her renaissance. That's what she called it in her journal. Yes, I read it. Left wide open on her vanity like a monument to self-delusion. She wrote, "Today, Austin said I light up a room. It's been so long since someone saw me that way. Miles always looked through me. He loved the idea of me, not the real me." The real her? Let's talk about the real her. Karen woke up every day at 6 a.m., did yoga for 20 minutes, checked Instagram before brushing her teeth, and took 2 selfies before deciding on an outfit that screamed effortless but took an hour to assemble. She wasn't a bad person, but she was a woman addicted to the idea of being wanted. And Austin? He was the exact drug she needed. Mid-30s, tattooed forearms, ran his own boutique fitness startup that hadn't turned a profit in 3 years but had a killer logo. He was excitement in a tight shirt. He sent her playlists, whispered about adventures, called her babe. On the second date, Karen was smitten. What she didn't know, what I had already confirmed, was that Austin had 4 other babes he sent those playlists to. One of them was a dental hygienist named Tasha. I know because she replied to my message when I sent screenshots of Karen and Austin making out in the gym parking lot. Karen thought she was living the plot of a romantic film where the stressed career woman finds her youth again in the arms of the unexpected stranger. What she was actually in was a poorly scripted reality show with bad lighting. Meanwhile, I didn't date. I observed. I rebuilt. I studied. I tracked patterns. Not just of Karen's infatuation, but of her illusions. She joined a dance class, posted boomerangs of margaritas on girls' nights, got a new haircut that framed her face like a teenager trying to age backward. But the eyes always gave her away. Tired, searching, almost embarrassed. And the calls, they got fewer. The kids noticed first. "Dad," my daughter Lacey said during our Sunday dinner, "why does Mom keep missing our FaceTimes? Is she okay?" I smiled, soft and honest. "She's busy finding herself." That was enough for now, but I had plans. Not just to move on, not just to thrive. I was going to build something so painfully poetic, so elegant in its ruthlessness, that Karen would never forget the man she thought was boring. Because I wasn't boring. I was waiting. Let's rewind for a second. A month after she left, I started volunteering at a downtown community center that ran educational programs for at-risk teens. I taught real estate basics to kids who didn't know what escrow meant. That's where I met Alana. She was 39, a single mom, quiet but fierce. Not the loud kind of fierce, but the kind that doesn't blink when things get messy. She didn't flirt. She didn't beg for attention. She watched. And when she laughed, it felt like church. She had none of Karen's shine, but all of her substance, multiplied. We weren't lovers. Not yet. We were allies in a war of quiet rebuilding. She was recovering from a toxic ex. I was unraveling years of silent betrayal. Together we built moments that weren't flashy, but pure. We made sandwiches together for food drives. She taught me how to cook Cuban-style black beans. I taught her how to draft a lease agreement, and all the while, I smiled more. But Karen? Her light started to dim. The selfies slowed. The captions turned vague. Life's about the journey. Sometimes you have to lose yourself to find yourself. Translation: Austin had stopped texting back. By month 3, she came by the house to pick up her yoga mat. She lingered in the doorway. "You've lost weight," she said. "You look different." "I've been doing some heavy lifting," I replied. Mostly emotional. She winced. "Good. But here's where things took a turn." She asked if I wanted to talk sometime, to check in. I told her maybe, not because I meant it, but because hope is a cruel gift when handed to someone who doesn't deserve it. Karen believed the world would stay at her feet as long as she wore heels. She told herself her power hadn't diminished. It had simply shifted. That men like Austin weren't a replacement for Miles, but an upgrade. And if they didn't last? Well, that was just a symptom of freedom. She didn't cry when Austin ghosted her. She laughed it off with friends who nodded along but avoided eye contact. She posted vague inspirational quotes about self-worth and alignment. She told Lacey and Julian, our kids, that she was exploring what happiness looks like outside the traditional box. But even an illusion needs scaffolding. And hers? It was rotting at the base. By month 4, her apartment, a sleek, overpriced downtown condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and zero warmth, felt like a glass cage. She stopped unpacking, still lived out of her suitcases like she was just passing through a life she wasn't fully sure she belonged in. She told her therapist and her friends that she was okay, that she didn't regret leaving. But every night, her eyes lingered on the cracks. The wine glass left untouched. The silence between texts. The way the doorman's smile never reached his eyes. She bumped into Austin once at a Whole Foods. Him with a leggy brunette in yoga pants. He didn't even look embarrassed. Just nodded. Said hey. That was it. Just hey. Not even a full stop. When she told me, yes, she told me, her voice broke on the second syllable of his name. I didn't comfort her. I only listened. That was my weapon now. Stillness. Because while she stumbled through self-rediscovery, I had moved quietly. Precisely. I transferred the title of our marital home into a trust with only my name. Legally clean. She'd forfeited her stake in the divorce without reading the fine print. Too eager to chase excitement to care about ink and signatures. I sold the property 3 months later for above market value. I used the profit to invest in a lakeside development just outside the city, one she didn't know existed. And guess who else invested with me? Alana. She wasn't just kind, she was brilliant. She helped me design the community for families, widows, and working single moms. We called it Cedar Row, a neighborhood born not from luxury but resilience. We hired contractors, landscapers, built a playground in memory of Alana's sister who died in a car accident. The community became our quiet rebellion against what broke us. And the best part? I named the newest model home after my ex-wife, the Karen. It had one of the lowest pre-orders, not because it was ugly, but because the name reminded people of someone they didn't want to become. Meanwhile, Karen had started texting more, just casual things at first. Heard from Lacey you're working on a new project. That's great. I passed the old house the other day. Looks different. Do you ever wonder if we rushed it? I didn't reply to most. Enough to keep the line warm, because I needed her to hope, to believe there was still a spark, that I hadn't moved on completely, that maybe she wasn't as forgotten as she felt. And she was right. She wasn't forgotten. She was a chapter I was about to close with finality. 3 months later, I invited her to coffee. Neutral Ground, a bright cafe near Lacey's campus. I wore a light sweater, clean shave, watch polished. She came in late, sunglasses too big for her face, a little thinner, more tired, but still posturing. Always posturing. Hey, she said, brushing imaginary lint from her blouse. Hey, I returned, voice even. We talked about the kids, work, life. She laughed at my jokes a little too loudly. Then she asked, "Are you seeing someone?" I tilted my head slightly. "I am," she blinked. "Oh, serious?" I nodded. "Serious enough. She's grounded, strong, the kind of woman who doesn't need attention to feel valuable." A flicker. There it was. That wounded flicker in her eyes. The one that asked, "Was that meant for me?" Without daring to say it out loud.
But she nodded anyway. That's good. You okay? I asked, and she broke. Not with tears, but with honesty. I thought this would feel different, she whispered. I thought letting go would set me free. What does it feel like? I asked. She looked away. Like I'm falling, and there's no ground. I watched her quietly, then stood up, placing a hand on her shoulder for a beat. It's not the fall that kills you, Karen, I said. It's when you realize no one's there to catch you. Then I left her with her untouched coffee, with the sound of chairs scraping, with the dull ache of someone who had everything and chose nothing in the name of freedom. 2 weeks after the cafe meeting, Karen called again. I let it ring twice. Then I answered with just enough warmth in my voice to feel believable. Miles, she said, do you have a minute? I didn't, but she needed to believe I did. Always, she hesitated. I've been thinking, maybe we gave up too soon. There it was, the hook. I gave her space to speak, and she walked right into it. Word by word. She talked about missing our connection, about how her apartment didn't feel like home, about how Austin was a distraction, not a destination. She said she wanted to talk again, privately. No pressure. Let's take it slow, I told her. She smiled through the phone. I could hear it. She thought she had a shot. She didn't know I'd been rehearsing this scene for months. The plan was already in motion. Step 1. Invite her to the Cedar Row launch event. Make it public. Make it polished. Make it impossible to forget. Step 2. Introduce her to Alana. Subtly, graciously. Let the truth settle like fine ash. Step 3. Let the final reveal unfold in front of an audience that once knew her as a wife, a professional, and a woman who had it all. I sent her an invitation, not directly, through Lacey. That's how I knew she'd come. She wouldn't be able to resist a glimpse into the world I built without her. She arrived wearing white. White, as if to cleanse the past with a carefully curated wardrobe. She stepped out of the Uber in stilettos, like a resurrected ghost of the woman she used to be. Except everything about her shimmered with effort. Alana and I greeted her with warm professionalism. I introduced Alana as my partner. Karen nodded, lips tight. She's beautiful, she said, almost convincingly. And sharp as hell, I added. Alana smiled politely. I've heard a lot about you. I watched Karen process it. That she hadn't just lost me, but had been replaced. Not by someone younger or flashier, but by someone real. Someone who had built with me. Not wandered into my arms by accident. The room filled with old colleagues, mutual friends, even our former marriage counselor. Surprisingly, I saw the looks, the quiet awareness that I had won. But it wasn't about revenge, not entirely. It was about clarity. Because while Karen smiled and complimented and tried to reclaim fragments of who she used to be, I took the mic to give a speech that would end it all. 5 years ago, I began, I lost something I thought was irreplaceable. My marriage. Silence fell. But here's the thing about loss. Sometimes it's just clearing space for growth, for truth, for people who show up not for the highlight reel, but the hard days. I glanced at Karen. Her smile was frozen. I was told I was boring, predictable, safe. But what some call safe, others call dependable. What some call boring, others call stable. Alana stepped forward. Then I reached for her hand. This community, this project, this new life, they were all built from pieces I collected after I was discarded. And I'm proud of every scar, every late night, every single moment that led me here. Applause followed. Karen's hands didn't move. Her eyes welled, but not from pride. From the cold, devastating realization that I had not only survived without her, I had thrived in ways she never imagined possible. And then came the final blow. After the event, as guests mingled, I pulled her aside. She was visibly shaken. Miles, I didn't know. All of this. I nodded gently. I didn't either, until you left. She swallowed. Do you ever think about what we had? I leaned in, lowered my voice. Every time I see something fragile and beautiful, I remember how easily it can be broken. Her eyes filled. Did you ever really love me? I nodded. Too much. That was the problem. And then I handed her a brochure. It was for a new unit, a one-bedroom, remote, quiet, named Karen. She stared at it like a mirror. And I walked away. Karen didn't stay at the event long after that. She left before dessert, stepping out into the night like someone who forgot where they parked their soul.
She didn't call. She didn't write. But 3 days later, I received an email. Subject line, I finally understand. I didn't open it. I archived it because her realization was not the ending I needed. I already had mine. Life didn't become a movie montage of perfect joy. That's not how life works. But it became real. Alana and I didn't rush. We moved slowly, like people who had known ruin and didn't want to repeat it. We built a home, not a house, but a space where healing didn't have to be loud. The kids came around. Julian told me once, "You seem lighter." I was. Because when someone leaves you thinking you'll fall apart, and instead you rise, that's a kind of power they never see coming. Karen still lives in the city, quietly now. The selfies are gone. The parties too. She teaches yoga part-time, runs a blog about rebuilding after disruption. Funny, she never writes about how it started. How she threw a grenade into the life we built and expected roses to grow from the ashes. But I remember, because silence doesn't forget. 1 year after the Cedar Row launch, I received a wedding invitation from Karen. She was marrying a tech investor from Atlanta. He was 53, divorced twice. She met him at a speaking event. I knew she wanted me to see it, to show me she had moved on too. But I didn't go, not because I was bitter, but because I didn't need closure. I already had it. Every time I looked at Alana, every time I stepped into the home we built with our hands, not fantasy. Every time I kissed someone who didn't need me to be exciting, just real. You see, the real revenge, it wasn't humiliation. It wasn't exposure. It was peace. The kind that can't be faked in photos or performed in brunches. The kind you earn after walking through fire and refusing to let it harden you. Karen had to live with the truth that she didn't just lose me, she gave me away, and I became something she never expected.